This is The Happy President, and I'm reading from Being and Caring, A Psychology for Living by Victor Daniels and Laurence J. Horowitz, second edition, copyright 1984. Preface. We all write, direct, and act the parts we play in the theaters of our lives. These roles grow out of how we feel about ourselves, how we want the world to see us, and the constraints of our environments. We are sometimes terribly tragic, sometimes hilariously funny, and sometimes exquisitely absurd. Within these contexts, each of us has the option of finding ways to live that help us to feel good and know ourselves more deeply, to create and flow and to stretch and reach. As Rabbi Hillel said, "If I'm not for me, who will be? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" In that spirit, we hope this book will help you in your quest for increased understanding. In recent years, many psychological understandings and techniques have come into popular use. Each has the advantage of originality and the disadvantage of being partial, or overemphasizing one part of the personality. We have synthesized these understandings, the wisdom of such writers as Freud, Rogers, Pearls, Jung, Skinner, and Reich, and developed an approach that involves the systematic development of each part of the personality. Readers of Being and Caring will find ways to move beyond limiting attitudes and assumptions, use inner resources more effectively, make outer relationships more rewarding, and live their lives more consciously than before. Being and Caring speaks directly to the reader's past, present, and future life. Instead of talking about issues, it penetrates to the heart of students' concerns about them. Rather than presenting knowledge that is here today but gone after the exam, it provides practical information and skills that can be put to immediate use. Through its exercises, it provides an ongoing workshop in learning to confront dilemmas of existence that every person faces. For student and teacher alike, we have tried both to inform and demystify. What others have stated in complicated ways, we have sought to say simply and directly. The resources we draw upon for understanding range from the research laboratory to psychological clinics and consulting rooms, from the writings of philosophers to the observations of sages and spiritual teachers, from the ideas of colleagues and friends to a wealth of insights and incidents from our clients and students. We're happiest when we have hard scientific data, but we've tried to avoid relying on facts and figures at the expense of experience and insights. As we wrote, we found ourselves wanting to pull together our experiences and viewpoints so that I statements could be made and be true to both of us. Although some of the tales in these pages are from Larry's life and some from Victor's, we tell them all in the first person. It doesn't matter which is which. We call this narrator the generic I. We intend no more conscious than thou statements. There's much more in these pages than we've integrated into our own lives. As an older brother said after reading the text, "You know all this stuff. How come you're still such a schmuck?" Changes from the first edition. The entire book has been rewritten from the first paragraph to the last, retaining what was best in the first edition and adding much more. The new edition preserves the warm, personal tone of the earlier one, but the writing is clearer and sharper, with a smoother flow, greater dignity, and more coherent organization. There is a wealth of valuable new information. The areas of emotion and cognition are treated in greater depth and detail, with special attention to such crucial areas as emotional complexes, fear and anxiety, anger and aggression, cognitive restructuring or reframing, attribution processes, and altered states of consciousness. A chapter on somatic psychology provides a practical approach to stress and then explores the dynamics of body armoring and its relation to the total personality. The new chapters on sexuality, assertion training, and conflict are both enlightening and useful. The revised Talking and Listening chapter is a virtual communication handbook, and this new edition includes so much material on intimacy, love, relationships, and families that the book can be easily used in a course on marriage and the family. Our point of view. Much of our early training was behavioristic. It focused on understanding people's observable actions. Over the years, we have broadened our ways of working and understanding to include psychoanalytic, person-centered, Jungian, and other approaches that emphasize subjective experience. We practice and teach Gestalt therapy and family therapy. Our present outlook is an existential one. but it's different from the old European existentialism, which was preoccupied with despair, loneliness, and alienation. Those states of being seem to us no more central to an existential view than caring, sharing, involvement, and joy, along with the enduring issues of how to be true to oneself and live responsibly and with integrity. The word existential refers in part to what exists, what is. Behaviorists are interested in knowing what is. Zen masters are interested in knowing what is. In this sense, both are existentialists, their outlooks grounded in an empiricism that encompasses both observable actions and subjective experience. Our focus is not on positions, but on processes. This emphasis helps make the book the unique and effective learning tool that it is. How to use this book effectively. You can use this book by yourself, with another person, or with a group. We encourage you to question, challenge, and think about what rings true for you, rather than uncritically accepting anything we say. The book's organization makes it easy for a classroom instructor to tailor the sequence of presentation in a way that makes maximum use of what is relevant to students in this course. A class with a behavioral emphasis, for example, might read Part 4 and Chapters 10 and 12 early in the semester, so that they can use that information as a basis for behavior change projects that may last throughout the term. A class with a human relations emphasis might proceed from Part 2 immediately to Part 6. The exercises help build a bridge between student interests and an instructor's curricular goals. They provide a way for the theoretical content to be personally understood, allowing learning to go on through both left brain and right brain processes, with the goal sometimes of fuller comprehension and sometimes of developing specific skills. Learners can enrich their understanding by sharing the feelings, events, and experiences called to mind by the text and exercises. This can lead to an exciting process-oriented class in which participants deeply examine important personal events and consider new possibilities for themselves. Be aware that a sure way to deaden such a group is to offer opinions rather than exchange experiences, to analyze and theorize rather than hear and understand. Many students and general readers alike who read the first edition actively applied the material to themselves, reading not just with their heads, but with their feelings and senses as well. We've received letters from people who keep the first edition beside the bed, and in the evening open it up at random to read, or use the index to find passages relevant to particular issues. If you're not reading this book in connection with a class, you might arrange to have a group sponsored by your community center, church, or temple, or other neighborhood institution. Or you can put up a notice on the bulletin board at work or at your laundromat announcing that you'd like to meet with other people who are also reading the book. This is called a wash and dry, self-directed learning group. How this book is organized. Being and Caring begins, in Part 1, by setting out some guiding principles. Learn to appreciate and enjoy yourself, your life, and other people, rather than depreciatively judging all these. Live in a self-determining, authentic way that's based primarily on who you are, rather than on what others want you to be. Develop the neglected sides of who you are and become a more fully integrated person. Increase your freedom and power by accepting responsibility for your behavior. Sharpen your ability to be aware of events both within and outside yourself. Part 2 presents skills and information about interacting with other people. Parts 3, 4, and 5, which comprise the heart of the text, consider emotion, cognition, and overt behavior. The order is psychological. Emotional clarity facilitates clear thinking, and both feeling and thinking affect our actions. Part 6 returns to our connections with others and an emphasis on intimate and other long-term relationships.